the most confusing crime scenes ever investigated. The crime scene made no sense. The blood was on the ceiling. The weapon? Missing. And the victim? Nowhere to be found. Over the years, detectives have walked into scenes so bizarre, so utterly contradictory, they almost seemed like a cruel joke. But these 5? They've left even the most seasoned investigators shaking their heads. Comment, like and subscribe. Case 1. The House with No Footprints. It was winter in a small Minnesota town. Snow blanketed every roof, every street, every tree branch. A neighbor called 911 after spotting a front door wide open at 4 a.m. When police arrived, they noticed something strange. There were footprints in the snow leading up to the house, but none leading away. Inside, the living room was warm, the TV still playing static. A cup of coffee sat on the table, steam curling into the air. But the owner, 56-year-old Martha Klein, was gone. Detectives found no signs of forced entry. No struggle. No blood. Here's where it gets creepy. In the kitchen, a chair was pulled out from the table. On the seat, a single snow-covered glove. It was inside the house, still wet, as if it had just been dropped. Dogs traced Martha's scent, but it stopped abruptly in the middle of the living room. Like she'd simply vanished. To this day, her body has never been found. And in every report, one question remains. Who left the glove? Case 2, The Locked Bathroom Mystery. London, 2009. An elite British intelligence agent was found dead in his own flat. But it wasn't the cause of death that shocked detectives, it was where they found him. Inside his locked bathroom, inside a locked duffel bag. No fingerprints on the bag. No signs of forced entry into the flat. The key to the lock? Never found. The coroner admitted they couldn't even confirm if it was suicide, murder, or an elaborate accident. Friends insisted he'd been complaining about being followed. Neighbors reported hearing whispers through the wall that night. The case is still open, not for lack of evidence, but because every piece of evidence contradicts the next. Case 3. The victim who called 911 after death. In rural Oregon, a farmer was found dead in his barn, a brutal head wound, likely from a blunt object. The medical examiner placed his time of death at 9:45 p.m. But there was a problem. At 11:17 p.m., nearly 2 hours later, his phone dialed 911. The call lasted exactly 12 seconds. The only sound? Heavy breathing, and the faint sound of running water. When officers traced the call location, it came from the victim's kitchen, a room 50 yards from where he'd been found. The barn doors were locked from the inside. The kitchen door was wide open. Detectives tested for fingerprints on the phone. Nothing. Not even the victim's. It's as if someone wanted police to know he was dead, but also to know they could never prove who did it. Case 4. The Staged Break-In. Phoenix, Arizona. A young couple was found murdered in their living room. At first glance, the place looked ransacked, drawers pulled out, furniture overturned. But one detective noticed something off. The dust on the shelves hadn't been disturbed. The broken vase in the hallway? Its shards were on top of undisturbed dust. The forensics team quickly realized the mess had been staged after the murders. Even stranger, security footage from the neighbor's doorbell camera showed a man in a hoodie entering the house at 8:12 p.m. Then, nothing. No footage of him leaving. By 9 p.m., police were on scene. The front door was still locked. Windows sealed. Back door bolted. And yet, the man in the hoodie was gone. Case 5. The Room That Shouldn't Exist. This last one still haunts the detective who worked it. In 1997, a landlord in Detroit was showing an old apartment to potential tenants. The unit had been abandoned for nearly a decade. When they opened the door to one of the back rooms, the smell hit first. Then they saw it. A man, sitting upright in a chair. Mummified, but perfectly preserved by the dry air. A gun in his lap. Next to him, a calendar on the wall, marked off to October 1990. 7 years earlier. police quickly identified him as the apartment's last tenant. But here's the impossible part. Building plans showed that room didn't exist. On paper, that wall led straight to the outside. And here's the twist. The tenants who lived in the unit next door swore they'd sometimes hear scratching behind their bedroom wall, even after the man was found. Comment, like and subscribe. We like to believe every crime scene tells a story. That evidence adds up. That timelines make sense. But sometimes, a crime scene doesn't just leave questions, it leaves a shadow. A weight that sits in the back of every investigator's mind. Because the truth is, some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Somewhere out there, a person knows exactly what happened in each of these cases. They've carried those secrets for years. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe they're sitting next to you right now. And maybe, tonight, someone will walk into a crime scene that makes no sense at all. And add one more case to this list. So tell me, which one of these kept you up the most? Comment, like and subscribe.